So what we're doing in our downtime of not being back in our store is a number of different initiatives. You've probably all heard about the Girls' Day Out. These are bus trips that we've been running every Thursday and Sunday down to our Timaru store, which have been fabulous. It's entertaining on the bus with some of our staff, but it has been fantastic for our Timaru store because actually our turnover, looking at it in the last few weeks, is almost tripled from what it was previously. But the great thing is we've had a lot of our Christchurch staff being able to go and work down in Timaru as well. But the reunions between the staff and the customers has been quite special. So we're really pleased with the Girls' Day Out. There's a lot more bus trips to come. We're starting with beauty bus trips coming up now is the latest demand. So a lot that's happening, and I think that's the important thing that we have to do. We have to stay fluid and innovative in what we do in these times. We've also done a strong push around our winter catalogue, which is due out next week, and in the process of upgrading our website particularly over mid-next week, you'll see a revised, new format website for Valentine's. But I think the most exciting thing for me in the last week was getting that touch of normality back. And that was we started talking about Christmas and our Christmas windows. And, there is hope. When you start talking about Christmas and what our Christmas windows are going to look like, it's exciting. Yeah, we've got some challenges to get there. I do not underestimate that. But we think Valentine's and Christmas are synonymous, and the fact that we are now planning for that, I think, is really encouraging. So really, just in finishing, I'd just like to say a big thank you to you all that have supported Valentine's. We are and will remain committed to inner city Christchurch, and we believe we have an opportunity to really create an inspirational city moving forward, and we very much want to be part of that. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. All right, can you just raise your hand if you've got a question so we can gauge? Okay, 1, 2, 3. We'll head up the centre aisle. Jenny, keep going. I'll tell you where to stop. Yep.
Thank you, Mary, for your presentation. I see things rather differently in some areas. First comment, Valentine's, of course, went through a restart around 1950 after the Valentine's fire. Mm-hmm. Secondly, you downgrade the suburban malls, certainly any growth in that area. My submission to the City Council was to accept the fact that the major part of shopping is occurring in the city malls, that apart from Valentine's and perhaps Mackenzie and Willis, then, okay, concentrate on cafes, bars, theatres, cinemas for the central city. Another point before I pass over, where small areas are demolished in the central city, plenty of room for building parking buildings, and also have mini parks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. I believe retail is fundamental to an inner city, and if I look at any aspirational city globally, retail is a key component of that inner city. I think, yes, we have the malls and people are shopping at the malls, but I also think there's a strong demand from customers and consumers in general that are looking for a retail that does offer a point of difference. I don't think we had it right where we were historically, but I think what we can do around inner city retail now with a new landscape, I'm firmly committed to it and I think we can do it well. So I think everyone has their place. Thank you.
I'm a bit concerned about your presentation. I find generally that the money spent on the CBD, getting the rest of Christchurch to pay for it, before the earthquake, seems to have left the rest of the suburbs sort of penalised. And I would have thought if you want to get the city going again without congestion, you would support the idea of trying to meet your goal, which I think is fine, to use public transport. So we're not going to get more cars in the city when we haven't got the city up and running. So when you look at free car park, for an hour, you're actually being subsidised as a business in the CBD because other malls limit your parking, and we're trying to encourage public transport. And I just figure, are you getting preferential treatment? I just find it offensive to have, shop online at Valentine's and a presentation for the future of the city. It's fine running business, but
All right, Peter,
I just
I'm
want
sorry,
to know. I'd just like to know your commitment to
Sir,
public
with
transport.
respect, this is a rapid-fire Q&A session. It's not a time for speech making. I'm sorry, Mary.
A couple of points I can make on that. I think public transport is absolutely integral to the future of the inner city. Have no question about that. I'm just saying what we do and how we shape it, let's be smart about that. Absolutely, public transport is integral. I also think parking is integral, just as I do cycling and walkways. So I just think we've got to look at, it's a combination. It's not one or the other, but I think we've got to look at a balance of transportation modes, and let's use that effectively. So my apologies if I gave the impression I'm against public transport. I'm not. What my comment is about is around the longer term, around what is the right transportation mode for inner city. And all I'm saying, let's make sure we take a broad perspective of that when we are looking at around those initiatives. When it comes down to restart and in the short term, I think that's a totally different game. Totally different game. And I think what we've got to look at the end of October, what is the most easiest way of actually getting people into the city and out in the most safe and accessible way? And that might be shuttle buses. It might be a variety of modes of transport. So I think there's two things. Yes, there's the short term, and how can we do that effectively and make it easy for people to actually come into the inner city. And then longer term, it's about a balance across all modes of transportation and how we can look at that effectively. Putting up in a slide about Valentine's, I would be asked, I don't know how many times a day, where are the touch points with Valentine's? It is an important fabric of Christchurch, our company. So I will shamelessly continue to ensure there are as many touch points with our brand that there is possible. Thank you.
Mary, congratulations on your presentation. I think you can tell you've got the audience with you. I'm speaking personally as a Valentine's customer, looking half the clothes I'm wearing come from your store, so I don't know where to go at the moment. On a serious note, and as a professional retailer, I seem to recall that even before September, there were quite a lot of vacant retail premises in the City Mall there, or Cashel Mall. How realistic do you think it would be in a new Christchurch to be able to attract global retailers of some unique position, such as, for the sake of argument, Benetton or Louis Vuitton? If you want to have entities, they'll never proliferate to the shopping malls because they can only afford one outlet in every major city. Is it reasonable for Christchurch to expect that we could attract people like this? And does the City Council need to help with some incentives to get people like that here?
And I think that is our real opportunity. And that's why I don't think, when we look historically, we didn't have it right. But here is our opportunity. I think particularly with the collective behaviour of all of the property owners and trying to look at, a look and feel around City Mall, I'm confident that we can create an environment that will attract the international brands. And interesting enough, we've been approached directly to Valentine's by a number of brands that aren't currently in the city with the exact same question. We actually we would like to have a presence in Christchurch. Can we do it under your wing or your umbrella? My answer to that is, once we have the look and feel of City Mall right, I think there is going to be that opportunity. But we've got to get it right. That is the key.
Any further questions over on the wings? Yes, sure.
Thanks. The CBD seems to have gone through a vicious circle in the past of less important shops, Valentine's being an exception, but it used to be that Whitcoul's main store where you could get just about anything was in the centre of the city, and now it's become much smaller stores than some of the major malls, and there's been less reason for people to go into the city. Now, it's not a Valentine's thing, but perhaps can you comment, is there a way to reverse that vicious circle?
And I think in reversing it, it's a combination of things. It's looking at, that when I come back to that boundary of what is the boundary around the inner city, I think that is quite relevant. And the initial slide, when I said it's about that concentration of commercial, residential, we know that that is a key to any heartbeat in an inner city. And that is obviously a clear target for the council as well. So I think it's that combination. How do you marry sort of commercial, tourism, residential, all in a close knit, that you do create that demand for getting the right retail precinct? But so if you've got the people and you've got that constant flow, it allows you to create that point of difference for retail as well.
All right, next question, sir.
Mary, I'd just like to thank you for your presentation. The other thing that I'd like to say is I think Valentine's should be congratulated for managing to provide jobs for their staff since the earthquake. You've gone a really long way to make sure that people have got food on their table, so I think that's really good. I don't work for Valentine's. The other thing that I'd just like to comment on, the idea of having a start date is an amazing incentive. I think that we as a city need to be able to get into the inner city at some point. Now, we may be only able to walk down Cashel Street, but at least we'll be able to walk down Cashel Street before Christmas. So that's an amazing thing too. The question that I have is around the temporary status of those businesses, because is there going to be a drop dead date that, okay, we've had our start date and now we've got our plan for the inner city? You have to actually, in effect, you're going to have to close businesses so they can start up again. And that will be a difficult, I just was wondering, is there a drop dead date for that?
Yeah, we have been discussing that, and I think that's really important. And I think it'll come around consents around the temporary sites. They will actually have a definitive time limit on it, which we think is important because, as I said, it's a short-term initiative, but then we do need to start managing that rebuild. And we would like to be able to do that sooner rather than later. So it's going to be quite a juggling act. But we're adamant we don't want to have temporary sites for a long term in city malls, so we need to manage that as effectively as we can.
Okay, Mary, on that note, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your fantastic presentation. Mary was a bit nervous today, she said to me beforehand, but she did marvellously. Thanks, Mary. Thank you very much. Cheers.